Good evening. My name is Mallory Johnson, and I'm a student at the University of West Alabama. For my signature project, I chose to focus on the impact that Schoology, the learning management system, has on students participating in distance learning. For my abstract, I just simply talked about how the role of these learning management systems is to provide the instruction to students who are choosing to learn virtually. With this comes much controversy about providing appropriate instruction to every student. Many are stating that students' needs are not being met and they're falling behind. The effects of Schoology on student success in specifically reading has proven itself to be detrimental. 11 students from one specific school, Sheffield City Schools, are participating in a study, 6 learning face-to-face and 5 learning virtually to keep that even number or close to the same, obtaining that monthly average of reading fluency to compare data, and those results will answer the question, does this have a negative impact on student success? The research problem is just simply that the coronavirus global pandemic has taken an impact or made an impact on schools nationwide. The administrators have had to make tough decisions about closing their doors, and with that becomes the idea of virtual learning. Some of these platforms have proven to be successful, while others are causing students to fall behind because their needs are not being met. According to the New York Times, one student stated that she never thought she would be praying to go back to school. Schoology is a learning management system that allows teachers to compile all the lessons, tests, assignments into one site so that students visit this site daily for all instruction. To use this Schoology, though, one must know how to log in, know where to locate, learn to navigate the site before beginning these lessons. It causes them to fall significantly behind, and if they don't have that help at home, they may never access what they're being provided or be able to understand what is expected of them. Many educators are worried that the students who don't fit the mold of that general education, they're suffering from this instructional method. Student scores are declining and standards learned are being forgotten, which is causing them to not only fall behind, but to stay behind because they cannot catch up. Those students who do not primarily speak English have difficulty translating the lessons because they've proven themselves to be inaccurate when translating, and the experience with technology not being proficient is causing those to suffer for a large majority of the school day because they can't learn, they're having trouble learning to use the site. The statement of the research problem: over the last 6 months, our nation has relied on technology to implement instruction for students who are quarantined at home. Through government orders, public places came to a halt in hopes of lessening the spread of coronavirus, and school buildings were no exception. Those schools had to be again closing March of 2020. Excuse me. It posed abundance of uncertainty to parents, teachers, and students. Instead of looking for a more permanent option that would accommodate the needs of all students, most schools just panicked and chose to stick with the method that has proven itself to cause issues for students and cause a lack of progress. Documents, websites, and videos are often attached as a source of instruction, and when students complete that work, it counts as their attendance for the day. The issue is that many students rely on those parents to guide them through their studies at home, but with parents working, if they're essential workers, or simply not being able to help because they're not capable of doing so, it's easy for students to fall behind, and it's creating a larger gap. Many describe the learning management system as overwhelming. Each class that students are expected to attend is located under a separate tab. Many teachers break that tab down into weeks, days, and assignments. Students with significant learning disabilities have no guidance as a plan for navigation. In some cases, they are even seeing separate tabs for related services. In addition, there is no read aloud option when using Schoology. Many school systems are choosing to purchase that additional support, but without it, the students can't have anything read aloud. So for your students with disabilities that have IEPs, and they are receiving reading instruction that requires to be read aloud, they're not receiving that. Therefore, their IEP goals are not being met, which causes issues both legally and in the student's academic success. Here we see the data that was taken from Miss Johnson's homeroom at Sheffield City Schools. Each student's progress is tracked over 5 months. We start with their reading fluency rate is on the far left side, and the student numbers, each student is identified by number, and then it starts in the month of October and ends in the month of August. In almost every case shown in the picture below, students declined in their reading fluency checks. The impact on student achievement moving forward was necessary in a way that we look for all students to be successful. The needs of the IEPs for each student is not being met, putting everyone at risk. While Schoology has been a wonderful way to bridge the gap between classroom and students' living rooms, it's not a sufficient permanent fix. By continuing distance learning, students are falling significantly behind their peers and are receiving face-to-face instruction due to inability to match the quality of in-person learning. The research method is a mixture of different data collection methods in order to provide adequate and appropriate evidence of the problem presented. Qualitative measurement will be used to provide students with reading fluency passages weekly to obtain a monthly average. Students who are face-to-face will take it one-on-one during their assigned reading time in the resource room, and students who are distance learners will be given a reading fluency check using the Zoom platform for video chatting. The assigned reading will be pushed out to them through Schoology, where they will read the passage aloud as I am timing it. In addition to reading fluency passages, parent and student surveys will be conducted for quantitative data. It entails questions about the effectiveness and accessibility of Schoology and how they feel it benefits or hinders student progress. As for, a literary review, the introduction is just that students are relying on this learning management system rather than attending traditional school. Adequate lessons and learning opportunities are not being provided due to many issues that have revealed themselves about Schoology. Students' ability to succeed academically is at risk as their needs are not being met and the learning gap continues to widen. Students are using their voices to express concerns about the difficulty of remote learning and how Schoology is overwhelming. The best practices for increasing that proficiency. Students, parents, and teachers are all frustrated with the lack of support that Schoology is providing for them, and several ways to decrease those issues that would benefit all students who are navigating online learning would simply be proper training is crucial for the success that's for teachers, parents, students, anyone using that needed to be properly trained to where they felt comfortable using it before ever assessing a lesson. I feel that they're having to learn twice how to use the platform, but also how to do their lessons and how to learn. In addition to teacher support, parents and students need that support and a source of uninterrupted communication. I know that oftentimes teachers say, well, this parent contacted me at 8 this morning and needs help getting their students' work, but I couldn't answer them until 10 because I'm also teaching in person. So that's become an issue as well. Lastly, there are many students across the U.S. that require more than just a few answered questions in order to be successful. We need to be able to meet every student's accommodations. If they have a disability and it's written in their IEP that they receive these accommodations, we have to find a way to be able to provide that no matter the situation. So that's important that we learn to implement these in Schoology, whether that be buying an additional license to be able to read aloud or various other opportunities to meet those needs. The population is 3rd through 6th grade students. There's 367 students in that elementary school, and data is being collected from one classroom totaling the 9 students. 2 3rd graders, 1 4th grader, 2 5th graders, and 4 6th graders. Each of the students has a disability that requires an IEP, and with that, each of them has accommodations. The sampling technique will be conducted using quantitative method to do those monthly reading checks, the monthly average of the reading checks that will be taken weekly. And then the sample is the 9 students from the experimental and control group that will be taken within the classroom. The role of the participants to just participate in those those reading fluency checks and to answer those questionnaires. In order for the students to remain confidential, they will be labeled student 1 through 9. Their names will never be spoken aloud, as well as parent consent will be provided, and they will understand what their role is within the study. There are 2 primary variables. The experimental group is the virtual students, and then the control group is the students who are continuing to learn face-to-face. The hypothesis is that students whose needs are being met through face-to-face learning are more likely to yield a higher reading score than those relying on learning management platforms such as Schoology. The timeline, the first reading passage will take place at the start of the second 9 weeks of school, and they will be taught the regular 5-day-a-week schedule, completing those various assignments, where some are doing them online and some are doing them in person. The students will complete that reading fluency check each Wednesday for 1 minute. At the end of each month, all the words per minute will be totaled and averaged together, and 1 number will be presented for that month. As said before, to remain confidential, the students will be labeled 1 through 9, and the numbers will be recorded on a Google Sheet after parent consent has been provided. The reliability. Reading fluency checks are used nationwide to track student reading progress. This helps to give us an accurate measurement of how many words a student can read per minute. Students will be administered a reading fluency check and using the average of the overall data. This is just in the case that, say, a student is not participating or is struggling that Wednesday. The other weeks will be able to provide a more accurate total once they're averaged together. Resources. All participants are being taught. 2 paraprofessionals are in the classroom, and they play a significant role in providing instruction for the students. Collaboration will also take place between the teachers and parents, and teachers must communicate expectations to students. They will only perform at the level they are expected to achieve. The overarching goal is to link the use of Schoology to low-achieving students through delivered instructions. By teachers working together to provide the same quality instruction to all students, valid data can be provided that instruction is not the issue, but the way of implementation and how students' needs are not being met. Limitations could include students not logging in consistently, they are hesitant to ask for assistance, and lastly, we fear that parents are completing the work in the place of the students. With that being said, this is going to give teachers an opportunity to learn if learning management systems are providing appropriate instruction for students, or if we need to learn to intervene in that and provide everything in order for the child's needs to be met. Thank you.